You're going to check your phone in the next 90 seconds. Not because you need to, not because someone texted you, but because something in your brain is screaming at you to do it right now. You probably don't even realize you're about to do it. It will feel voluntary. It will feel like your choice. But the real answer is far more sinister than that. Your phone isn't a tool anymore. It's a slot machine designed by the smartest engineers on the planet to hijack the exact same reward circuitry that kept your ancestors alive for millions of years. And they're winning. The average person checks their phone 96 times per day. That's once every 10 minutes, awake or asleep. Not because the phone is useful 96 times a day, but because your brain has been rewired to expect a hit of dopamine every single time you swipe open that screen. This isn't an accident. This is deliberate. And understanding how it works is the only way to fight back. Let's start with what actually happens when you pick up your phone. Your hand moves toward it before your conscious mind has even registered the decision. Neuroscientist Adam Gazzaley has spent his career studying this exact moment. He calls it the intention-action gap. Your brain initiates the movement before you're aware you've made a choice. Why? Because your phone has become a conditioned stimulus. Just like Pavlov's dog learned to salivate at the sound of a bell, your brain has learned to crave the phone at certain triggers. Boredom, anxiety, the notification light, the weight of it in your pocket. Any of these can trigger an automatic reach. But the real trap isn't the reaching. It's what happens next. When you open your phone, your brain releases dopamine. Not because you found anything rewarding yet, but because of the possibility that you might. This is crucial. Your brain is releasing dopamine in anticipation of a reward, not in response to an actual reward. You haven't checked your messages yet. You haven't seen a like on your post yet, but your dopamine system is already firing. Researcher Jacques Pangsep spent decades studying the neurobiology of desire. He discovered that dopamine isn't actually the pleasure chemical. That's serotonin. Dopamine is the wanting chemical. It's the system that makes you seek, that makes you crave, that makes you unable to stop until you find what you're looking for. And your phone's designers know this. They've weaponized it. Think about the design of social media. You scroll, nothing happens. You scroll, a notification appears. Your dopamine spikes. You scroll more. The unpredictability is the key. If you knew that every fifth swipe would give you a like or a message, you'd check 5 times and then lose interest. But because you never know when the next reward is coming, you keep scrolling, you keep searching. This is exactly how slot machines work. Pull the lever, nothing. Pull the lever, nothing. Pull the lever, jackpot. Your brain can't distinguish between the two. Both trigger the same dopamine response, the same compulsion to keep going. Your phone is a slot machine that fits in your pocket. Here's where it gets darker. Your phone doesn't just trigger dopamine once. It creates a cycle. You check your phone. You find something mildly interesting. Your dopamine system activates. Then the reward ends. Your dopamine crashes. And now you're in a state of relative dopamine deficit. You're uncomfortable. You need another hit. So you check again. Neuroscientist Nora Volkow, who has spent her career studying addiction, has shown that this dopamine cycle is nearly identical to the cycle created by drugs like cocaine. The brain doesn't distinguish between them. A notification hits your reward system in almost the same way that a line of cocaine hits an addict's reward system. You're addicted to your phone, not because you're weak. You're addicted because your phone is exploiting a biological system that evolved over millions of years. But here's the thing, the dopamine system isn't broken. It's working perfectly. It kept your ancestors alive. When food was scarce, the dopamine system made them seek endlessly. When social status mattered, it made them obsessed with maintaining their place in the group. Dopamine is motivation. Dopamine is drive. The problem is that your phone is the first technology in human history that can trigger your dopamine system as many times as you want, as many times per day as you want, with no natural satiation point. In the ancient world, if you were seeking food, eventually Eventually, you either found food or you gave up. Your dopamine system had an off-ramp, but with your phone, there's no off-ramp. There's always another notification, always another message, always another video, always something new to seek. And the engineers designing these apps know this. They're hiring neuroscientists and behavioral psychologists specifically to make their apps more addictive. They're testing different notification colors to see which one triggers the strongest response. They're adjusting algorithms to maximize the time you spend in a state of craving and seeking. This is why you can't put your phone down. It's not a character flaw. It's not laziness. It's biology weaponized by design. But here's what most people get wrong about phone addiction. They think the problem is too much dopamine. They think they need to have less stimulation. In reality, the problem is the opposite. Because your phone provides constant, unpredictable dopamine hits, your baseline dopamine level has shifted. Your brain is now calibrated to a higher state of constant stimulation. Everything else in your life seems boring by comparison. Reading a book doesn't trigger dopamine like a notification does. Having a conversation doesn't trigger dopamine like a social media like does. Exercise, nature, real human connection, none of these trigger dopamine the way your phone does. So even when you're not using your phone, you're thinking about it, even when you're trying to focus, your brain is craving it because your dopamine system is now stuck in a state of constant seeking. This explains something important about phone addiction that most people don't understand. You're not addicted to your phone because it's fun. You're addicted to it because it's broken your ability to find joy in anything else. The phone didn't create the addiction. It created a neurochemical imbalance that makes everything else seem less rewarding. There's another layer to this that's even more insidious. Every time you check your phone, you are training your brain to be more distractible. Neuroscientist Gloria Mark has studied attention in the digital age. She found that once a distraction interrupts your focus, it takes an average of 23 minutes to return to the original task. Not 5 minutes, not 10, 23 minutes. But you're checking your phone much more frequently than that. So your brain never actually completes the task of returning focus. You're constantly in a state of interrupted attention. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for deep focus and long-term planning, is being constantly interrupted. Over time, your ability to focus on anything for extended periods is being systematically degraded. You're not just addicted to your phone, you're becoming neurologically incapable of the kind of sustained attention that human flourishing requires. And here's the cruelest part. The apps that are most addictive are the ones that exploit social reward, likes, comments, shares, because dopamine doesn't just respond to material rewards. It responds to social status. Your ancestors lived in small groups where social standing was literally a matter of life and death. Your dopamine system evolved to obsess over what others think of you. So when you post something and someone likes it, you get a dopamine hit, but then that dopamine crashes. And now you're thinking about the people who didn't like it. Now you're checking how many people have seen it. Now you're refreshing to see if there are new likes. You've created a cycle of social dopamine seeking that can be infinitely extended. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, they're not built around what's interesting. They're built around what triggers social dopamine, and they're optimized second by second to maximize the time you spend in a state of craving and seeking social validation from strangers. Your phone isn't the problem. Your phone is the symptom. The real problem is that we've created technology that understands your own brain better than you do, and we've aimed that technology at exploiting the most primal parts of your neurobiology for profit. So what do? How do you fight back against something that's been engineered specifically to hijack your brain's reward system? The first step is understanding that willpower won't work. You can't think your way out of a dopamine trap. Your prefrontal cortex, the conscious, rational part of your brain, is no match for your limbic system, the ancient reward-seeking part. You need to change your environment, not your willpower. The second step is understanding that checking your phone isn't really about the phone. It's about the dopamine cycle. Your brain is seeking to escape a state of discomfort. So the real question isn't how to use your phone less, The real question is how to tolerate the discomfort without reaching for dopamine. That means sitting with boredom. It means feeling anxiety without immediately seeking a distraction. It means rebuilding your dopamine baseline through activities that provide delayed rewards. Reading, exercise, deep conversation, creating something. The reward comes later, not immediately. So dopamine doesn't spike and crash constantly. Instead, your baseline dopamine rises. But most importantly, it means understanding that you're not weak, you're not lazy, you're not lacking discipline, you're human. And humans weren't built to resist the kind of dopamine manipulation that's possible with modern technology. The engineers of these apps know this. They count on you blaming yourself, thinking you need more willpower, thinking you're failing. Because if you keep thinking it's your fault, you'll keep trying to fix it with willpower, and willpower will fail, and you blame yourself again. Meanwhile, they're winning. They're in your brain, pulling the dopamine levers, watching you seek endlessly for something that will never fully satisfy you. You're gonna check your phone again, probably soon, and when you do, you'll know exactly why. You won't be able to say it was an accident. You won't be able to say it was a choice. You know that somewhere in your brain, a system evolved to keep you alive is being exploited by the smartest engineers on the planet. The question is what you'll do with that knowledge.